Oh, okay. The internet went out for a second. Hello, hello. I wanted to come on and talk about my first rapid transformation therapy session. So Marissa Peer is the developer of RTT, and I saw her actually on LinkedIn, which is kind of weird. But I saw her on LinkedIn, and I really enjoyed her posts and the things that she said. And so when I saw that she published a book, I immediately bought it and got it on audio. And I listened to it while driving across the country. And this book was amazing. And like the first thing she said in the book was, if you have a physical illness, if you have a physical issue and you go to a doctor, you go to a clinic, they're going to immediately begin working on it and attempt to alleviate your pain. They're going to attempt to immediately help you feel better. When you go to a therapist, when you go in for emotional or mental pain, you might not feel better for a year. Like you might have to spend time talking to a therapist and building up a relationship so that you can begin to even address the pain that you're in. And she believes that it should be rapid, that it should be much faster than this, which is why she developed rapid transformation therapy known as RTT. So this book was really amazing. I listened to it completely and fully. I immediately bought a physical copy, left it with my cousin who immediately read it, immediately bought other copies and gave it to her friends. So like this stuff is amazing. And essentially what RTT is when, so let's back up a little bit. When you have, when you like anxiety, my anxiety, when you have issues, when you have struggles to communicate, when you have problems in your life, it is, I want to say 100% attached to something that happened to you in the past. So when we're like, born, we're like these little empty laptops, and our parents get to install any programming and any, ways of functioning come from our parents in the way that they treat us, in the way that, we are raised. And those programmings and those issues can cause us to have problems later as adults. Like, for instance, I was raised around screaming and yelling. So when I got married, guess what I did? I screamed and yelled because that's how I saw people communicate. That's what happened. And that's not okay, but that's how I was raised, and that's what I saw, that's what I witnessed, and that's what I knew to do. So anyway, and that's something I've been working on in my regular therapy anyway. But with this RTT, what it does is it, instead of taking years to peel back the layers of all the reasons as to why you behave the way you do, because like in regular therapy, they go, okay, Melissa screams and yells. Let's get her some strategies so that she doesn't scream and yell. And let's do the surface level stuff. And then eventually over time, we'll peel back, why is it that, she has this screaming and yelling going on. And it could take a really long time to get to that point. Like it could even be hard to admit that you scream and yell like you do, and you might have guilt over it, and just addressing all of that can take such a long time. So with the RTT, it just goes straight to the issue, the thing that is causing that. And what's really crazy is we are usually unaware of it. Like I know that my dad was abusive. I know that he screamed and yelled at my mom. I know that, I was raised in a household that was mentally, emotionally, verbally abusive. And I know those things, but knowing the root cause of like a memory or a specific event or a circumstance that happened that created the program that I now run off of. So in RTT, we'll go right to that root. And I love the stories that I read in RTT. She presented multiple examples of people that she serviced through her RTT and what they learned. And like even one of it can be such a small little thing that could lead to a problem in your adulthood. So for instance, one of them was a girl. She had this anger towards her dad, towards men in general, and she didn't quite understand where it came from. Her dad was a good guy, but she always just had this like, towards him. And it was a struggle for her, and all this anger that she was carrying. When she did RTT, and what they do in RTT is she uses the word hypnosis, but don't think of hypnosis as someone taking over your mind and making you do things. Like, that's how we think hypnosis is, but that's not really what hypnosis is. Hypnosis is more like just shutting down the filter in your brain that prevents you from, saying like, oh, I don't want to say that because if I say that, whatever. Like, it's just a way of like shutting down your mind so that your true thoughts can actually flow through. So they went into hypnosis with this girl, and she pulled up a memory of when she was 2 years old, and her mom was crying her eyes out, and her dad picked her up and took her away and made her stay in the room while her mom was crying. And what happened was the programmed belief that went into her was, I can't save my mom, and my dad won't let me help my mom, and I don't like that my mom is crying, and I can't help, and I'm small, and I'm worthless, and this sucks. And that's the program that she had in her body from that one time that she was crying, or that she was taken away from her mom. Now, in reality, probably what happened was her mom was overwhelmed. There's lots of things when you have a child, lots of emotions, lots of hormones. She's probably doing all these things. And the dad was like, oh my gosh, I just need to help my wife. I'm going to set the child aside here so I can take care of my wife. But to the daughter, to this woman, it was programmed into her that that my dad doesn't let me help my mom, that I can't help her. She's screaming and yelling. I'm small and not powerful because this is happening. That woman was completely unaware, that belief was housed in her body based on that circumstance. Who at 2 years old is going to remember, like, oh, one time I was 2 years old and I was left in the crib and it forever left me angry. Like, you wouldn't know that without going into the hypnosis and stuff. So I was really like super thrilled about, RTT. And in fact, I had made a post about how we need to deal with our traumas. We need to deal with our triggers. We need to deal with the things that are impacting our life. And somebody had asked me, where do we start? What do you do? And I posted that book, a link for that book. And then someone else commented, she had been following me for a little bit. She goes, I am an RTT practitioner. I would love to give you a session. And I'm like, oh my God, that is so amazing. Like, I hadn't even looked into it. I had just read the book, and then I wanted it. And that's another thing about you creating your reality and manifesting. I manifested what I want for free. Someone came to me and said, I will do this RTT for you for free. Like, that is freaking amazing, right? So anyway, you have at first like a 30-minute, intake session where you kind of talk about, whatever's going on. And for us, she asked me to pick a thing that I wanted to focus on. And the thing right now in my life that I am kind of like struggling with is like procrastination or just being distracted. Like, I have all these ideas, I have all these visions, I have all these things I want to do, and things I want to develop, and programs I want to create, and building my business. But I seem to avoid it, or I get distracted, and then at the end of the day, I don't get it done, and then I feel bad at myself for not getting it done, and then it's like, like I just want to do these things, and then like I end up avoiding them, not doing them, and just all this stuff. So this was what I wanted to focus on with our session, and I was super excited, and even to prove it, she sent me paperwork that I needed to fill out. And she sent it to me like 2 weeks ago for our first session, and I just filled it out like right before I procrastinate on everything, barely last minute finally get it done. So that was what we wanted to talk about. And so you have a 30-minute intake session where you kind of talk about it, and we talk about, well, what would it feel like if this was no longer a problem? What would your life look like if you were able to accomplish the things that you set out to do? What would your life look like if you weren't distracted? And that was our first intake session. We didn't dive into my history. We didn't talk about my trauma. We didn't talk about my past. She just asked me, what is something that you're struggling with, and what would your life look like if that was sorted out? Fucking amazing. So then we scheduled my appointment, and I had it today. And we begin again by kind of establishing what it is that we want to work on. What does our life look like and feel like while we have this issue, and what would it look like and feel like if this issue was resolved? Then we went into the session, or the hypnosis. Now, again, it's not like she's in control of me and I'm this mindless thing and she's running me. That's not the hypnosis we're talking about. It's more like a meditation. And she would say things that would allow me to kind of relax and to put my guard down a little bit in a way so that I could just freely express myself without, the filters and the parameters of protecting ourselves that we have. And now I was a little bit like, I knew like what RTT would lead to because I read the book, and I had some fear that I wouldn't be able to like know, or I expected some almost mystical experience about my memories or whatever. But I just I just trusted myself, and I just said what came to my mouth when she would ask me the questions without hesitation. And that's part of the hypnosis, is being in a relaxed state where you can just simply let yourself answer without thinking, right? Because sometimes someone will ask this question, we know the answer, but then we overthink about it. We try to change our answer, which is what I tell people not to do on their state exam, which is my business. But anyway, with the hypnosis, it prevents, it stops you from doing all of that thinking and filtering and wondering, and you just allow yourself to say what it is you need to say. So she started with telling me to go to close my eyes, and we did some breathing first, actually, but she said, okay, I want you to close your eyes. I want you to go to your kitchen. I want you to open the refrigerator door. I want you to grab a cold lemon. I want you to cut the lemon. I want you to squeeze in some of the juices. I want you to taste it. And it's a very visceral experience. And I can see myself doing this, feeling this. My mouth started to salivate like I was eating the lemon. And it was very real to me, which is another thing. Our body, like whatever you think about, your body believes is true, which is why you begin to salivate. Even though there's no lemon around me, like my mouth could salivate, which tells you that our bodies are so fucking powerful, and that what you tell your body is happening, your body will believe it. So when you tell your body that you can manifest whatever you want, your body will believe it. Like, it's just amazing. But anyway, so she said, okay, now you see, she's like, your mind is so powerful. Your mind recreated or developed this entire thing of you going to get a lemon. And she's like, trust what comes up in your mind. Your mind knows, your mind stores everything. Your mind has that information. You created an entire situation based off of just a few things that I said. And I was like, whoa, like, dude, like my mind is this computer file system with all of these memories in them. So that was really cool. So then she started talking about like the way she said things was so cool. It was like, we're going back through time. You are getting younger, and we're peeling back the layer. Like the things that she said were so amazing. And then she asked me, she says, okay, now where are you? Or like, how old are you? She asked me, so I'm like, and I just, again, with the hypnosis, you just allow yourself to say whatever comes up. So I said, I'm 5 years old. And she says, where are you? Are you inside or outside? I'm inside. Is it daytime or nighttime? It's daytime. These answers are just coming out of me. Like, there's no thought going on. It's just coming out. And then she says, what is happening? And I said, well, my dad is yelling at my mom, and he's screaming at her, telling her that she's good for nothing, and that she's such a procrastinator, and she never gets anything done, and she's worthless, good for nothing. And I'm this 5-year-old child watching this happen, and it's scary and terrifying that I can't protect my mom and I can't help her. Now, the practitioner, she's helping me, Alina, she's helping me through all of this, kind of talking me through this. And that was like the first memory. So we have 5-year-old little Melissa who was watching her dad scream at her mom and can't help her mom, and hearing the words, you're worthless, you're horrible, you're an awful person, you can't accomplish anything, you can't get anything done, you're a piece of shit, good for nothing. Like, these are the things that I am hearing my dad tell my mom, and I'm 5 years old, and there's nothing I can do to stop it, prevent it, and it's scary and it's terrifying myself. Then we went through and then I forget the order of things. I think we kind of addressed that situation a little bit during that. And my dad, when he grew up, his mom was not affectionate. I think he said that he was told, I love you, like one time. And she was obsessed with cleaning. So she would keep the entire house clean. And in fact, the kids weren't even allowed inside the house, because she would kick him out all day long so that she can keep the house clean. And he never really got affection or to even hang out with his mom. So when he saw my mom loving us, being affectionate with us, and not cleaning the house, it really set him off in a trigger. Because in his mind, mothers are supposed to keep houses clean, and mothers are not supposed to be loving their children. And then he's jealous that my mom is loving on her children, and he didn't receive that as a child. And so that is why he's behaving that way and yelling at my mom like he is. So then we move on to the next memory. And she says, okay, how old are you? I said, I'm 8 years old. I was like inside, and she's like, what's happening? I was like, now my dad's yelling at me. And he's telling me I'm just like my mother. I'm just like her. I'm lazy like her. Worthless, good for nothing, whatever. I'm feeling like he's telling me that I am my mother and that I am all of these horrible things. I listened to him for years talk about how horrible my mother is. And then he's telling me that I'm just like my mother. So then I'm like, I'm horrible. If she's horrible, now I'm horrible. And these are the beliefs and the programs that are now being downloaded into me as a small 8-year-old person. So then we talked about that a little bit, and it was like, okay, well then obviously I'm harboring this belief that I'm a horrible person, that I'm lazy, good for nothing, that I'm worthless. And if I'm good for nothing, then I shouldn't even be alive. Like, it was shocking to me to hear the things that came out of my mouth. And what she would do, part of the rapid transformation therapy, is she would say things and I would finish the sentence. So she would say, when my dad yells at my mom, I feel. And then I go, when my dad yells at my mom, I feel. And then I would say it, and it was whatever came out. And I was shocked at some of the things that came out. Like, one of them was like, is I feel good for nothing and I shouldn't be alive. And because she would ask me, and that means, well, that means I shouldn't be alive. Like, that's the belief system that I've been carrying around in my body for years. So that was the second memory. And then we did another one. And this time I was again around 8 or 10. And it was now my stepmom who was isolating me from the family. I wasn't allowed to participate, and I was like sent away. And she didn't let me hang out with the family, and I had to be isolated, and I was rejected, and I was set apart in a negative way. And it was like I felt like I was my mom, and that she was mistreating me because I'm like my mom, and she didn't like me because of that, because she's the new wife and doesn't like my mom. And that was, a big part of the belief there. Then she asked me to, and my memory might be like kind of all over the place. This is such an amazing session. But then we talked about, so the feeling, what does it feel like to be worthless and scared and small? Like, one of the biggest things that came to me was how small I felt. I felt so small. And it was like, because I couldn't save my mom. I couldn't help my mom. I couldn't get my dad to stop yelling at her. I couldn't get my dad to stop mistreating her. I couldn't get my stepmom to stop mistreating me. I had no voice. I couldn't speak up. And I was just isolated and told worthless. You're good for nothing. You're lazy. You're worthless. You never get anything done. Like, these were all the beliefs, and it made me feel really, really small. And she asked me if I were to scan my body, where am I feeling these things? And I was like, well, I feel it in my stomach. And I actually, what I saw was myself wearing the same outfit I'm wearing today, curled up in a little ball as like a little child, like almost like on Harry Potter, like in the very last movie where Harry Potter like dies and he's like in this space and he sees like a little tiny Voldemort, like cold and naked and shriveled. Like, that's what it felt like to me. And she says, where is that feeling? I said, my stomach. She said, what color is it? I said, red and black. Like, these words just came out of me. I didn't even know, like, it's just coming out. Like, I'm just answering her questions without thinking, which is part of the hypnosis. And then she would lead me through this. So she would say, repeat after me. I am the dark red circle in Melissa that feels, and then I would answer the question. And we would talk about, what is the purpose of this thing? And basically I developed as a child, because of the situations that I was in, watching my dad verbally abuse my mom, mentally abuse my mom, watching my dad yell and scream at me for being just like my mom, my stepmom isolating me and keeping me apart because I was like my mom. And it was like, well, this feeling, this red dark circle is keeping me protected because it's painful and scary to have people, attack me and to call me worthless. And that when, if I stick out, if I'm big or if I'm loud, I'm exposed to attack. and attacking is not good. And every adult, like many of the major adults in my life, attacked me. And so I feel small and I feel worthless and I feel tiny. And by playing small and staying small, it's a way of actually, protecting myself now as an adult. So then we talked through that feeling, and then I got to say goodbye to it. I was like, like we acknowledged you were here to keep me safe. You were here. You showed up because I was attacked and mistreated as a child. You showed up because I couldn't protect my mom. I couldn't save my mom. And now this feeling is here within my body to try and keep me safe. And we acknowledged it, and then we let it go. And then we did some like inner child work where I saw little Melissa, and I got to, reparent her. And I said, I am the best parent for you. I'm going to be your parent. I'm going to be taking care of you. I'm the best person to take care of you. And, just to really connect with little 5-year-old Melissa. And the person, me today, who is distracted and avoiding work and not doing things is 5-year-old me. That's what's preventing me from doing the things that I want to do and accomplishing the things I want to accomplish is little 5-year-old Melissa, who's being yelled and abused at by her dad and watching her mom be abused and yelled at by her dad. And that's who's running the show when it comes to making decisions and doing things. Because if I were to do things, then I would then be attacked by people like my stepmom. And I'm scared of that. And that's why I have this program that I don't even want. I don't want to not be accomplishing the things. If I want to accomplish something, I want to accomplish it. But I'm not doing it because I have this protective mechanism because I've been attacked as a child and it's scary. So then we also did some kind of role play where she had me switch between my dad and me, my mom and me, my stepmom and me, and I would talk as if I was my dad. And this is some of the things they do in the RTT book. So she would say, I am Melissa's dad and I act this way because, and then I would just say whatever comes out. And then I got to, talk to my dad via me, and, tell him how I felt, and then also kind of make peace with it, which I have in many ways. I understand that my dad has a lot of mental illnesses, that he doesn't know how to control his own emotions and feelings. He doesn't know how to be loving because he never received those things and he never received the mental health that he needed. And that's why he is the way that he is. And I've definitely had made peace with that. But being able to talk about this specific thing where it's I couldn't protect my mom from him is a big thing. And that's impacted me a lot. So, and I talked to my mom and, I said, I'm sorry that I can't protect you, but I'm big now and I will protect you. And if anyone tries to hurt you, I'm a big girl now and I get to protect you. And it was really cool to transition myself from 5-year-old Melissa, who is avoiding things and afraid of things and scared of things and doesn't want to be attacked by people, to transitioning to a strong woman who knows that I'm an adult, who knows that I can speak my truth, who knows that, I can set boundaries with people and that people are not allowed to treat me that way. And I will not tolerate people treating me that way. And it was just so powerful. And then we ended the session, and I might be forgetting something, but it was just so amazing. This session was so amazing. And then we ended the session with reestablishing a new program, that is much better for me, trusting and believing in myself, wanting to be loud, wanting to be shiny. I know it looks like I am loud and shiny right now, but I'm still even dim compared to what it is I want to be. Myself is just bold and out there, and I want to be loud and proud, and I want to be on everyone's TV, and I want to be on books, and I want to do this. And the recording at the end of the session, she went through talking through some of those things and the things that I want and how I want to live my life. And then that recording is something now that I will be listening to every day for the next 21 days. And you can do it at bedtime, morning time, whenever. And it can actually, I almost went to sleep a little bit towards the end of the session, which is normal. But it's okay because even though you're not consciously awake, your subconscious is still hearing it, because your subconscious never goes to sleep. And so even if you do fall asleep during the recording, because it's so relaxing and awesome, you're still receiving the knowledge and the information. So I'm super excited. We have another follow-up next week And that's when I imagine that I really do want to do this on the regular. Like this was just one thing. The first thing that I wanted to deal with was the procrastination and the avoidance of doing or completing tasks. And now that I have acknowledged little 5-year-old Melissa who's trying to keep me safe, and I've let go of that feeling, I've let go of this system that I created to protect myself. I let it go. And one of the things that we did was watching it leave my body and saying, I don't need you anymore. I understand you were here to protect me. I understand you showed up when I was 5 years old being attacked, being scared and afraid, and that you're here to protect me and keep me safe, but I don't need you anymore and you can go. And I actually saw it like a ball coming out of my body and bouncing away from me and getting smaller and smaller and smaller until it disappeared. And so that was really freaking cool. So she said that she usually works with people for about 3 months. And with RTT, in the book, she says that most people only need like 1 to 3 sessions, and that, you can clear up, so much of what is going on. And I love the book so much, and I love the story so much, and it's been amazing. So I'm super excited. Like, again, you get to manifest what you want. Whatever you desire in your life, you can bring to you. And that's what happened with this RTT session. I read the book. I absolutely loved it. I shared it with other people. I talked about it. And then boom, an RTT practitioner shows up, offers me a free session. Absolutely amazing. She's incredible, by the way. I'm going to drop her in the comments so that you guys can reach out to her for a session. So absolutely amazing. And I can't wait to see like the impact of this in my life. And then with the recording, you listen to it 21 days, and it's important to do that, to reestablish this program. Because just like anything else, we did this session where we cleared this up and let this go, but it has been my program for the last 30 years. And it's not just going to boom, disappear forever overnight. Like, you got to continue that practice of the new system, the new programming that you want, which is part of that recording. So I loved it. It was amazing. If you have any questions, let me know. I will definitely be going live about all of my sessions. I'm obviously a very open book, I love to talk about my life and my dealing with my trauma and all the things that happen, and therapy. I think mental health is something that we fail to talk about as a society. And that's another reason why I'm able to forgive, my parents, is that they didn't get the mental health conversations, the words, the understanding of emotions. Like, we as humans are not taught how to deal with and handle our emotions. And that was one of the things with my dad, and even with his mom. Her obsessive cleaning of the house was because she couldn't control her own inner emotions. And if she couldn't control her exterior, then she would feel better. But not really, because you can't always, she didn't feel good because she spent her entire life keeping her house clean, like obsessively. Like, I remember my mom said we went over as little kids and we touched the coffee table, and she's like, oh my God, I just waxed that. And she's like, they can't touch the table. And she would buff it out. Like, that's how bad it was. So you're not even living a good life when you think you're controlling the things that you think make you feel better. So that's where that behavior comes from. And that's what my dad was doing. My dad didn't know how to control his own emotions and feelings. And we think that it's the other people that are causing us to feel the way we feel, but it's not them, it's us internally. So he attempted to control us as children to prevent him from feeling out of control, because he didn't know how to manage his own emotions. And so this belief, if I can control my exterior, then my internal will feel okay. You got to control the interior for the exterior to be okay. And so that, I do understand and acknowledge that's where my dad come from. And I love my dad. Like, don't get me wrong. I know my dad loves me. I know he tried his fucking best. I know he did, the best he could with what he knew. And no one taught him emotional regulation, and no one raised him in a loving way. He said, I think he said he heard "I love you" one time from his dad. One time. And my dad said, "I love you" every day. I never felt unloved by my dad. I was certainly abused, and I was certainly mistreated because he was operating from a mental health issue, bipolar, BPD, whatever. He didn't know how to, raise children and to manage his emotions. but I knew he loved me. And he was affectionate, and I did receive hugs from my dad. I had a much better childhood than he had. And that's the beauty of life, you know, is that we learn and we grow and we do better. So I really, you know, feel sorry for the generations before us that didn't get to talk about mental health, that died in their grave thinking that they were worthless and shitty, and died in their grave knowing that they abused their children. And what are you going to do? Like, that's just what we do. Like, I'm not going to live that way. I'm going to live. And I know even today, I know parents right now who can't have relationships with their kids because they won't admit what happened. Like, it is so hard for a parent to say, yeah, I abused my child unknowingly, unwillingly, but I did it. And it's like, you didn't anticipate abusing your children. You thought you were doing what you needed to do. You thought you were doing what was done to you. Just like with my daughter, I would scream and yell at her. I would do the things that my dad did to me, but I thought that's what you do because that's what my parents did to me. I thought that's just how you raise kids because it was what was done to me. And we got to learn and grow from that and develop from that. So that was my RTT session. Absolutely amazing. Jeanette, it is RTT, Rapid Transformation Therapy by Marissa Peer. And I will drop both the link for the book in the comments, as well as Alina, who was my RTT practitioner. Again, I'm planning on working with her for the next however long. And I will be talking about every session that I have. And I'm really looking forward to the results and all the amazing, wonderful things. And I really want to get like everyone that I know, I'm like, do RTT. This is amazing. And anybody can learn it and become a practitioner of it. So they have like a certification program. One of my friends just said that she got a scholarship so that she could learn to become an RTT practitioner. So that is super freaking cool. I'm probably going to go through it myself just because it's so transformational and so powerful. And it's just amazing. So that was my session. Thank you all for watching. Again, check it out for yourself. Read the book. Listen to the audiobook. It's absolutely amazing. Follow Melissa Peer, and you'll see what I mean and how awesome it is. So love you all. Have a good day.